anthropology. It's more than a philosophy, more than a psychology, more than just an ecology, bigger than biology, larger than anthropology, brushes against astrology. That's prophecology.
Well, we're happy today to have a power couple with us. And Prophet Debra, what you think about this power couple that we're going to have that's going to be sharing today?
You know, Master Prophet, I think it's such a wonderful place to be, especially and knowing two power couples and watching them from their early start and to sit back and to watch and to see them there. I mean, it just does my heart good, and just to know that I know them, you know, and I remember when, and looking at the finished product, it just blesses me.
Amen. The finished product is right. Prophet Jonathan, you're going to need this power couple.
Yes.
And yes.
Yes and yes.
And another yes.
I mean, yes.
Especially for what all they deal with. You can use them yesterday.
It will be impossible for me to walk down an aisle without having walked through these pages with this power couple.
You know what? Let's give that a hand. You know, that probably is the wisest thing you said all day.
I haven't been eating today, so that's probably why. It's a fasting life.
It's a fasting. Well, you know. Okay, go ahead.
Let me read this.
Give us their bios.
Greg and Cheryl Clarke are a husband and wife team, better known as the marriage specialists. They share the same passion for helping couples build stronger, healthier marriages, taking them from hurting to healed. Greg and Cheryl are speakers, mentors, ministers, and relationship business coaches. They use their transcendent coaching programs to offer foundational tools and uncommon ones. Greg is an early childhood education teacher, ordained minister, and certified relationship life coach. Cheryl is a licensed marriage and family therapist, ordained minister, and motivational speaker. After being together for over 30 years with...
Over what?
30 years.
Can you imagine?
No. With 6 beautiful children. The Clarks have a wealth of wisdom to share through God's promise and spiritual inventions. Greg and Cheryl Clarke are on a mission to be role models, proving that marriages can last with the right tools. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Greg and Cheryl Clarke.
All right. Amen. Amen.
You know, Your Grace, I like the last part, that they're on a mission to show that marriages can last with the right tools, but there's work behind those tools that you're utilizing in order to make sure that marriage is working. Because you can be together for 30 or 40 years, but not have a working marriage.
You know what, Prophetess Debra, now, you know, we were together for this year will be 42 years.
And counting.
Who's counting?
Well, you gave a number, you know, so,
I know,
so we just got to talk about the numbers.
It's just lovely. It's just lovely.
It's all God.
It's all God, but I mean,
it's all good.
It's 42 years, but we watched this couple come to the church when we were just maybe less than 10 years married. Yes, because Cheryl was only about 15 years old.
And what year was that, Prophetess Cheryl?
1994.
See?
So it was about...
Oh, 1992.
Let's look over there.
1991. Come on, let's go. And we were married in
79.
So 89 would be 10 years. So it's about 12 years. We was only 12 years married.
Wow.
And when we think about that, Cheryl was a minor.
Yes. Are we going to go into that?
Well, all of this gives the whole context, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gives us.
And Greg came to the church because he was following a minor. That's not a bad thing.
Sniff, sniff, sniff.
That's right. Prophetess Maddie had them in church.
She did.
And seriously, she had them in church.
Yes, she did.
And then Gregory came, and Gregory did dating the way we did it. He dated the family,
Yeah,
and he
that's
dated the
good.
church.
Yes, he did. He was
Let's give that a hand.
That's good.
yes, he did. He was in prayer services in the
He was
house.
in prayer services at the house.
He was at the other church before we came there.
I had hair when I was there.
Yes, he had hair. He was there. He dated the family.
He dated the entire community.
He sure did.
That's true.
So, thinking about this, you've had all of this rich history to bring about this in this book. And you talk about how we contemplated divorce to successful, thriving marriage. So, okay, y'all got married, and when did y'all realize that, no one gave us a marriage manual here?
You don't
and
get that.
You don't get a marriage manual, do you, honey?
No, you don't.
How you learn how to deal with me?
God. Fasting, praying, affirming, declaring,
Yeah.
standing.
Standing. You were a stand for me. You was a stand for marriage.
Yes.
You was a stand for couple. You was a stand for togetherness.
Yes, and there was, and that's powerful, Your Grace, and thank you for that acknowledgement. But my parents, my mother, my father, I only seen them, so that's the only thing that I knew. That was my pattern.
You know what? And they stood.
Right.
Because your parents, they were married. They were very married. When I met, I dated the family because I dated her father first.
I thought it was my mother because she was teaching you how to crochet.
Well, I dated your mother too. I can crochet, Pastor. You like that? Look at it says.
Wow.
See, Lace in the wall. Look at Ernesto.
So
Pastor,
wait,
oh, look at that.
like Chris said.
Oh yes, okay,
Can I
yes.
get a scarf? Maybe some
You
socks?
can do the little dolly. You can look
A little doily? Or maybe a little zaccato?
his head. Yeah. Shake
Ladies and gentlemen, you need to get a custom made from the master.
He hasn't done it in years.
Oh, it's time to revisit these old wells.
I like that.
So yes, Pastor's mother I dated, her godmother, the late Rose Ballard, and we were her brothers, sisters, but her father was the best date. That's when I got to get out of the house and we would go to the movies. And we would go to movies together. And your father and I would go to movies together and you wouldn't even be there.
No, I wouldn't.
I would be coming to see Debra at the time.
And go to the movies.
But her father and I would go out. He said, let's go to the movie. While everybody be home cooking and everything. So was that similar to?
Yeah, because my father wasn't there, but my grandfather.
Wow.
And he would, Gregory would be with my grandfather, and I would be somewhere else, but he would be sitting with my grandfather.
Yeah, this is how you know that you got the right person, is when the whole family can kind of wrap their arms around them. And they're wrapping their arms around. See, secret love is no love. Ooh, hey, Shabo.
That's good.
That's good.
Can I get a hand clap, a smiley face, or something? Thank you.
Absolutely. I don't know what's the
You have to
clappable
tell him
moment.
when to do it.
Like, Ernesto may actually know these claps because he's married.
Yeah, Ernesto, they got sitting on the side now. It's like he's punished right now. But
This is his avenue.
this is Abby. Yeah,
He knows what the
he's very married. He's like, I think he's like 2 years now. Or, no, it might be 3.
3?
A year and a half.
You've only been
It's
married
only a year and a half?
February 14th would be 2 years.
Oh, how old is? Oh, no, okay, leave that alone. Okay.
Whoa! Why are we doing that? What are you doing?
It's okay. There's 2 children, so that's why we're just a little mixed up. That's a different podcast. Okay, so.
Thanks.
But you know what? He committed and went down the aisle.
Yes, he did. Listen, more than men are. I didn't do it. Nah.
He didn't do it. So, he dated the entire family. Y'all got married. When did y'all start going through the process of contemplating divorce?
You want me to take that?
Okay, yeah, I'll let you take that.
So,
Wait, hold on.
I like that.
No, that was very interesting.
You didn't just take that forward step.
I need to tape that. That was nice.
Well, let's see. She asked me, may I take that? And he contemplated.
And he said, yes, go ahead. That's good.
But let's flip the script. Let's let him take it first.
that's fine.
And that would be great. So go ahead. What would you like? What would you like to say about that?
Oh my goodness, that would
See, this was good. See,
That was.
that was God.
Yeah, see that?
That's how we know that Prophet Joel is going to be a good husband to a wife.
He's going to be a great husband.
Oh, no.
Joel.
Joel. But I would say about 2008. About 2008, 2009, that's when things started going a little curvy. And we started seeing that we were still communicating, but it wasn't the right communication. We weren't being complimentary to each other. We were seeing the ways that we were interacting with each other was actually influencing our children. We started seeing different patterns in our children. And so when that really started to come into play and we decided to start seeking out therapy, yeah, that was about 2009, definitely going to the early 2010.
Now that's interesting. So you could be talking and there's no communication?
Oh, for sure.
So this is Pastor, stay with us. You could be talking and there's no. May I please have your hand? You can be talking and there's no communication. What do you think about that, honey?
I think that's very powerful. But you know something, even in your silence, there's still a form of communication. Mm-hmm. And what is that silence actually saying?
Like what you're not saying.
Right.
That could be just so.
What you're saying, because I don't want to talk to you. That's why I'm not saying anything.
You know, you do that sometime with me with one-syllable answers.
Yeah, but let's look at it this way also.
Yes, you can have my hand.
Thank you.
I want to hold your hand.
The purpose of the one syllable, could it be?
Could it be?
And I'm talking to the marriage specialist, that better to say one word than no word at all.
Okay, give us a sound effect of that.
I knew he was the man for the job.
That's a good point, because in the book we talk about the cliche, there is no perfect marriage, and we say that there is a perfect marriage, the perfect marriage that you both create. See, that's perfect. That works for, if I may, Bernard and Debra. But that may not work for Greg and Cheryl. So whatever that compromise, because we fell out of like with each other. We loved each other, but we fell out of like with each other.
Ooh, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on a minute.
Wait a minute.
What is that distinction?
You know what?
That's
Did you
powerful.
hear that? Falling out of like with each other?
Yeah.
Are there some women that you have falling out of like with?
Got rid of one this week. Wow. Gone.
After the ice cream day?
Gone. She came to the funeral.
We could have told you that.
But see, this is what you like.
Fall out of like with them?
Fall out of like.
So, Jonathan, you felt that you couldn't live with this person, you was just existing with them.
Yes, it was no connectivity. I felt no relatability. It was like, this is not workable.
And that's what happened to us. We were existing in the same space, but we weren't living.
No, we loved each other. But when you fall out of like with each other, I did not like Gregory, and he did not like Cheryl.
Oh no, we wanted to throw some pots and pans.
So what happened is that we began to emotionally detach, right? And then we began to, our words began to be because words are powerful, not even speaking. And then that's why the affection piece, that's one of the A's is affection. We took our affection completely away.
Ooh, so you withheld your affection.
Withheld our affection. That's important. Human touch is needful. So we were not even having sex. We were not kissing. We were not holding each other. We would go back and forth in each other. Exactly.
It was a Sahara Desert.
It was. Right. But were you missing it at all?
Of course I was.
Yes, we were missing, and we were so out of like with each other that we were not even. It was in the same space, and we would not say words to each other.
Wow.
And we made that okay, and it was not okay.
It was not okay. Y'all made okay. You know, because you talk about one of the A's here is the art of forgiveness, and you talk about the power of the 4 A's. How important is the art of forgiveness?
That is the main thing because the first A is acceptance.
Yes.
And you have to begin to forgive the people that you felt that you came in the relationship with. See, Greg and I came with a whole lot of baggage in this relationship. And what we found out is that we became a walking intervention for people. Wow. Because we came with baggage. I came without a father. He came with certain things. And there were certain things that I grew up in marriage. I got married when I was 19. So I had to grow up.
That's a good age. That sounds like how Prophet Debra. She got married at 19.
I got married at 19, pregnant, had my first child, and then kept having children. And then when I had Gregory Jr., I was a woman at that point, but I had shifted into who I thought I was.
So, okay, so now just sort of give him context, Gregory Jr. is which child?
He's our 6th child.
Sixth child.
Wait, hold on. Gregory Jr. is the baby?
Is the baby.
It's the baby.
Oh. See, because initially the first 5 were all semblances of a J.
Yeah, so they all. So we have. So you thought Gregory is the oldest son?
Yeah.
No, he is just a mature. He's very mature,
Sure
but
for his age.
he is the 6th child, and he's the baby of the family of 6. So think about having 6 children in approximately of us 8 years.
8 year span.
8 year span. So we had an 8-year span of 6 children, a business. Gregory losing his job, Gregory gaining his job, going through the depression, going through things of that nature, which he's very candid about now. And as a family of 9, because my mother lives with us, and understanding how to build that home, and it was toxic at some point. And at some point, we talk very candid about it, how we decided that he would leave. And he left the home for a year, and we decided to go into therapy and work on our marriage and get the tools to relearn. He had to relearn Cheryl, and I had to relearn Greg.
Wow.
You couldn't do that in the same space. So I believe that 1 year sabbatical, even though I call it a sabbatical because we were still technically married, but we were rebuilding each other. We allowed ourselves to be at a space to allow the toxic relationship to come to rest and for it to be resurrected in a proper way where we were both able to see each other at where we are now and not from the lens of before.
Yeah, we started to date each other. We had sex weekly. We were enjoying each other.
Oh, we having sex weekly now. You gotta keep it
No,
up,
I'm talking about back then.
Give me an emoji. Give me something. I don't know something.
Well, that's part of, and not just. We had to learn. Sex is different than intimacy.
That's right.
So he had to learn how to make love to me outside of the bedroom. Because he had to learn that he had to massage my mind before I got to that bedroom.
Also, then y'all had to begin to start to become. There's another sexual term for that, sapiosexual.
Yes.
You had to get to that place where you got turned on with each other's minds.
Exactly.
Before you entered into each other's body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and it's important for people to grow mentally together, because I noticed after that, during that time, because you were with us here as a church for a moment, then y'all stepped away, y'all both went back to college and went back to school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped out in the educational process as well?
Tremendously.
I would say we had Zoe training, and then we were able to start to apply all the things that we learned here, even though we were on pause. I always call it a pause. I believe we didn't stop coming. We were put on pause because then we started seeing all the principles that we had learned here. We were applying it in different 501c3s. We started building up youth programs and helping kids develop in different areas. My wife was helping girls with her tag and tab program, and it still was based upon
Other people.
other people.
And we were not we started to go that way. So what our profession did was teach us to have the tools to begin to understand how to communicate on a different level.
Wow. So now you have a lot of different alphabets in here. You have the A for acceptance, but you have the activate the art of forgiveness. And then you have, in here, you deal with the C of commit, and then also not only to commit, but then to communicate with clarity.
Yes. Mm-hmm. That was something, Master Prophet, that I learned how Gregory could not hear me. So he turned off his hearing for me. So in therapy, what I learned is my tonation, my voice was too loud.
Oh, so now this is where Mother Jordan comes in.
This is good.
Because I remember a couple of times Mother Jordan used to kind of pull you to the side.
Exactly.
Didn't she? I mean, she's mother, that's when Mother Jordan, get the couple, she'll get.
Yes.
She'll say.
Exactly.
She may hear the way one of the women may have spoken to their husband in the church or something. She said, psst, 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 can I speak to you for a little minute? And I don't know what she says to him, but I can only imagine, because sometimes I walk by and I would overhear him, and I would walk and kind of slow down to see what Mother.
Slow down, Bishop. Slow down,
Bishop. And I would sometimes just catch a little word, because she wouldn't let me stand around it. She would hear say, "Now, you don't talk to that man like that in public.
Exactly.
You do that in your bedroom. Don't let your children even see you talk to that man like that. You don't raise your voice at." Is that what?
Yeah.
That was my mother.
That was your mother?
Yeah, she really helped the young women. She helped me a lot.
She did.
But I was only going from the pattern of what I saw growing up. So, and then I did not want to be like my grandmother. My grandmother was very docile. I was like, I'm not going to be like that.
You mean your grandmother?
My grandmother was very docile. My grandmother was.
Where was she from?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. So
I was like, no.
So with your grandfather, she was like very.
She was very docile. She wouldn't say. My grandmother was not she only spoke wisdom. So she only spoke with, and she wasn't a loud woman. You never really heard her.
I never heard neither one of my grandmothers ever raise their voices, not even in the house.
Exactly.
That is really kind of.
I've never heard my grandmother.
One from South Carolina, one from North Carolina. I wonder if that's like a real culture. And if they got into anything, and now that I'm thinking about it, I probably shouldn't. Well, but both of my grandparents, they both had separate bedrooms.
Oh, they came from that school.
My grandparents had separate beds.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yes.
That you begin to look at the culture. They had separate. Both of my grandparents had separate bedrooms. Is that interesting?
They was in the same bedroom, but they had separate beds.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. That is so interesting.
Isn't that something?
And my grandmother, I don't think you've ever heard my grandmother. And she would tell me, she said, when Greg come around, because Greg dated the family, she would always make sure that Greg has his own food on the side, his pie, his everything. And I'm like, Grandma, why are you doing? She said, because you got to take care of him. And she would teach me in these things, right? She said, she would make sure that Greg had his own pie. She would make sure that Greg had his own food on the side, because he would come by the house after work.
Oh my goodness, where are those mothers at today? Where are these women to, isn't it, even Ernesto shaking his head, right? Where?
So I found, but I found myself doing those things that my grandmother was doing.
So she was actually really teaching you a way But when you look at it, though, for the culture, that was not the norm, because the culture today kind of has a different kind of woman, like kind of like owning her voice, owning her space, you know, having an egalitarian relationship, which is nothing wrong with it. But when you look at the culture, with what you see in television and things of that nature, it was almost like that is not what society was actually promoting. But yet, I like what you've put here when you said that your husband couldn't hear you anymore.
No.
And so you had to find a way to get heard.
Yeah, because in therapy, he said, the therapist asked him, he said, you know, what's going on? She said, all she does is yell all day long. I can't, she said, now she sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher.
Wonk, 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 wonk.
Wonk, wonk, wonk. He said this in therapy. And I'm like, I yell. I yell all day, so I didn't even know I was yelling. So, and I asked the children, we had a meeting, I said, they was like, all you do is yell.
Oh my God, I never thought about that.
So I said, okay. So I began to observe myself.
Ooh.
And I put myself on an observing Cheryl. And when I would yell, I would talk to myself and say, Cheryl, that's why I talk the way I talk now. Because my profession helped me, because the way that tonation makes a real significant issue inside of the therapy room. And because of the simple fact that your tonation tells you, even your body. So you're speaking with your words, you're speaking with your body all day long. So when I start to yell, even when I call his name, so I will go to him and I will ask him, but be an inquiry. We're always with inquiry with each other. I never even go in the room without asking me, do you have a moment? So I'm very cognizant of each other's space.
Wow. Well, I should think about that. Do I yell all day? Do I yell a lot, honey? You can tell the truth.
This is not the space for that, Your Grace. We are interviewing.
Then the answer is yes.
Well, it may not bother you. But see, it may not bother you. Probably, whatever it is, that was an issue for him. So it may not have been an issue for you. So whatever works, that perfect marriage is what worked for us, and that no longer worked for Gregory. So if I start yelling,
he couldn't hear
me anymore.
But I think I yell a lot because the house was just so big in the intercom. I didn't have time to get to the phone, so I yell for people's name. Debra!
Yeah.
What? You know, and you got mail.
Exactly, something like that.
It makes sense, but nevertheless, yeah.
And that's his face. He's like, why are you yelling? Why are you screaming?
You're right here.
Right here. So so it would do
You know, that's interesting.
Yeah, it would do something to his body. So I had to shift that, and there's other stuff that he had to shift for me. In the relationship.
But this is good because see, now you're able to bring that inside your coaching and in your counseling when you're working with couples, because you could not be cognizant of that. You know, like how do how does one receive your communication, or how does it come across? You begun to deal with the interdependent couple and the codependent couple.
Oh, that's a great.
That's good.
That's great.
That's good.
You want to be interdependent. That means that Cheryl is her own person,
And Greg is
his own person.
Yes.
And together we make the Clarks.
Right.
So I'm doing something. I'm a therapist, but Greg doesn't go into the therapy room with me. I'm a therapist. He's a teacher. I celebrate him as a teacher. However, we do things together. So I have my own company. He has his own company. However, we do it like this book. We do it together. So when we do these things, we could do it together. Now, may we break off in women's group in a man's group? Of course. Or whatever the case may be, we can do this together. But you got to know that you stand on you within inside of you.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that we covered in this, and we want you to really go and get the book, The Power of the 4 A's, because you also have this as a workbook. Are y'all going to be starting to do workshops with couples?
Absolutely. And we'd love to start here at Zoe and be able to make sure that everyone is able to work it. And I also want to say, if you're not in a relationship, the first A is about self-acceptance.
Self-acceptance.
If you are not able to see yourself as whole and complete, you're not going to, and you go into the relationship broken. And if you're not healed, you will translate that into that relationship.
True.
And the relationship, what I was doing with Greg is that I was putting all my stuff from my father, from everything else, onto him. And my pain, and vice versa.
Vice versa.
My pain, and we were emotionally abusive to each other. There was no physical, but we were emotionally abusive.
So this is good. Thank you. Let's give that hand clap of praise.
That's good.
And this takes a lot of work to read this book. You can tell that you have done the work. You have gone through the process, and y'all came to throw a lifeline to those that would be coming behind you, because there's people getting married every day, and no one gives you really a manual. You're learning by scarring your own knees, which I think is also the best teacher as well, because until you go through your own process, you won't appreciate your moments.
That's true.
I remember when I got diagnosed with depression, and when we started having those discussions with my therapist, and I started to realize how to unpack all of my isms. And you started to recognize during that dark night of the soul season, that was actually a very therapeutic season, because now I was able to start to look at all those missing pieces that I may have been trying to throw upon my wife, or look at those missing pieces that may have been missteps in my development. But now that I started to accept myself, and that's why that first A is so important about self-acceptance. Once you get to the point that you can accept yourself and you're not caught up in whatever it is that you keep dragging, now you can move forward.
True.
And until you do that, there are times that a lot of people have a lot of stuff that's repressed, and then they just go through the motions and it's okay. No, it's not okay. That's why we thank God for you when you decided to open up the space here, and the people should feel blessed, especially when it comes to us dealing as a community, especially as African Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, Africans that have come from the continent. We need mental health services in a way that we can start unpacking this stuff so we can heal as a community.
One of the things is I was in a session where I had to go away for 2 weeks with a group and was doing some therapeutic work. And the first day, we were in 12-hour day sessions, working lunch, working dinner, working breakfast, but you only had a few minutes alone with yourself. It was very cultish to me because you had no time with yourself. And they told you, it says you can't bring no family member with you, you can't bring no guests, but you got to come by yourself, because it's just going to be the group of you, the 5 of you, and it's just you with the coach and the therapist. And on the first day, they dealt with everything that is in your case and how to leave your case at the door.
Ooh. That's good.
And a lot of people, I think this is the first time I'm actually talking about this, but you have to look at how much of your case you bring into a relationship, into a situation. And a lot of people be carrying around a lot of luggage, a lot of baggage, and says, that's your case, that really should have been checked at the door.
For sure.
But you've dragged that case in here, and then you expect me to help you carry that case.
For sure.
And that load. And a lot of this can be dealing with even trans parents.
For sure.
For sure.
Okay? And so we can begin to start to look at that. And so I thought that was very good. Talk to us about, I know you put here in the book here, give a just because gift.
Yeah, so
I like that. Just because.
That's a part of the
because of the wonderful things he or she does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because.
Just because.
That's beautiful.
And just because you are present. So I always used to say to Gregory,
Not because it's a birthday or
I used to
anniversary.
say, you could have brought me home a weed. You could have brought me home something. You passed some on the way. But you know what? I killed that early in the relationship because Greg used to bring me flowers. And I'm like, I don't like flowers. And don't bring me flowers. And I was killing him even showing me love.
Wow.
How much do we kill it? Because I've never seen it. So when he was Greg was so affectionate. He used to want to kiss me in public, and I'm just like, move, And then he would say, and I killed that part of Gregory.
Wow.
Ooh.
And now he's very affectionate, and he wants to hold my hand. And even when we're driving, just because he knows that you don't have to bring me home a gift. It doesn't. My thing is not about how much it is. It's the thought.
The thought that counts.
Did you think of me when you went? He knows to go. When you go to Dunkin' Donuts, even if I don't want something, ask me.
Who's this?
That's yours.
This is mine.
See? Even if you don't.
My son brought me a Just Because gift.
Exactly, because he stopped by Starbucks and he said.
Stopped by Starbucks and he brought me this Just
and
Because.
how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel like he's going to ask me for some money.
No,
I just made that up so that y'all would laugh. Y'all didn't take that serious, did you? He always, every time he comes, he always brings me something. He always brings me a Taruma. He goes to Taruma, but he always brings me a gift. Don't he, honey?
Yes, Your Grace.
He always, just because.
I think that's great.
Isn't that lovely? Would you like your children to bring you? I know Gregory Jr. brings you something just because.
He does.
See, he doesn't. We're not going to ask if Jason does.
Jason, the boys are NJL.
The boys take care of the boys take care of the mother, and the girls take care of the father.
No, Gregory takes care of both his parents.
You're going to defend that boy. I love it. I love it.
No.
You better go ahead and take care of your baby boy. You better take care of your baby boy.
I have to speak up. When it comes to his wisdom, that's why I knew when Prophetess Kelly pulled that boy out of the other side. That young man has been a blessing to this family. Has he been perfect? Nowhere near. But when you can see his development, he has an empathy that's just.
Well, tell him what he's going to school for.
Animal science.
I mean, who in the world will care about doing anything with
Veterinarian.
But Pastor, well, see, you understand, because see, you look. I had to try to get my TV back, thank God. But I watched all these doctor shows. I watched cows being born in my thing.
Pastor,
that's acceptance and appreciation.
And I did. I learned about spiders and tarantulas, and I've gotten all of these different things about animals, and Pastor would sit there and look at that. I learned about hyenas, how they move around in packs, and I try to find a way to make a sermon out of it. My wife loves animals. I don't know why. She'll probably end up, if Gregory paid Pastor about 1 or 2 visits, she'll probably help him with his education, because she's really that into wildlife. I mean, Pastor would probably, if she had the time and money, she would create a natural reserve right in the backyard there. She loves plants, but I think that might be the Capricorn of her. I mean, what is Gregory sign?
He's a Cancer.
He's a Cancer. He feels everything.
Feels everything. So he's going to be like an animal whisperer.
Yeah, we had guinea pigs and all.
Yeah, guinea pigs in the house.
We had all kind of stuff, and he just.
But it was good that he was able to hear us call young. I mean, to hear a young black individual having a feeling for animals. It's going to be interesting what the farmer's wife looked like.
Let me rub her back now.
He's a ladies' man, I will say that.
I think Prophet Cheryl got a little challenge when he starts dating. What you think?
I mean, he is a ladies' man.
When he brings the first person home.
He already did.
He has.
Did you run her off, or did you embrace her?
She came to the church.
She came to the church. That was the one that came to the church.
She came to the church.
She was trying to hold on.
She's no longer.
She's no longer, but she tried to hold on.
Which way did you pray? No, it's okay. You know, I know mothers and their sons are something else.
I love all my children, but Gregory loves his family. He takes care of the family.
I get it. Listen, I have 2 daughters and 3 sons. There's nothing like a mother's love. A mother can forgive stuff that a father just not going to look past.
Now that is true.
That is very true.
This is the way we've been wired. I mean, you've actually carried this. But my sons will ask my wife before they come. They don't dare ask me. They will tap their mother's vein. And she will smile there like the queen she is. And then extend a gift of mercy without even saying anything. And she was and I'd be like, why don't they ask me? And I kind of feel a certain way about that.
You hear that, Josh?
Josh has been asking for stuff?
He hasn't asked me for anything.
No, no, you just said, you hear that, Josh?
Do you feel
But Josh has never asked you for anything. Exactly.
I'm trying to think. Not really.
He's never asked you for anything because he's never asked me for anything.
I'll make sure to ask you for
Please ask him.
So, but I noticed, and I've checked this out across with most couples. I've even asked grown men. I says, why don't you ask? I says, I saw you. Fully grown men, like homeowners. You asked your mother. Why didn't you ask your father? And they said, across the board, every one of them said this. It's a lecture. It's a lesson. When they go to the Father, there are questions that must be answered. So,
I have been told that.
How much you need again? What you need this for? With the mother, it's like such unconditional love. You need what? Not a problem. It's already in the cash app. It's almost like it's right there. But with the Father, it's almost like, so what is happening with your money? How was the management? How did it get to that point? Was there any other ways you looked at it? And it says to avoid the agony of the cross-examining. So do you think mothers cross-examine and ask a lot of questions when they come, or do they just unconditionally?
I think I would ask questions, but I think the part of me, because of the love and the compassion, after I needed, I came short, something came up, I mismanaged it. Okay.
The love and compassion. And the scripture speaks about that love covers a multitude. And that there is powerful.
Yes.
What is the multitude that love is willing to carry? And you can't be mad with that. Now, can you?
Not at all.
So.
Used to be disturbed by it, but.
I used to take it personal. And I would quickly say, my children love their mother much more than they love their father.
Cheryl, what do you have to say?
I'm going to sip something that my son brought me.
I would say that we have our own unique relationships with each of our children.
Yes, I concur with that.
Now, there are certain ones that, and I think it goes in seasons, Pastor, where one may need you more
than the other.
that season of time, and they have to go through that season. That's why I think it's seasonal. But my love is always across the board.
I always feel, I don't have no proof of this, I don't have no data, but I kind of feel that I'm coming to y'all as a therapist. This is my feel. I don't have no data on this. That when I say stuff to them, like, Michelle, I feel as though they find a way to get their mother by themselves. Because their mother kind of created like a little closet, and I think it's become a new sanctuary because I noticed the children are meeting her in her closet.
You mean the older children?
These are adult children. We're talking adults. No, we're not talking about.
Okay.
We're talking about adult children.
A different type of love.
I can see it.
It's seasonal.
I've even seen Joshua in the mother's closet.
She needs to.
It's like a sanctuary.
But he's with his wife.
He has a wife, and he needs to talk to his mother about
I love the way y'all are covering for these black men. This is great. And so
we got to think about it. We picked good consorts who are able to consistently be there in those spaces that we may not necessarily be.
Yeah.
And that's why I said at one point for me, I used to get disturbed by it, but now I honor it because at least that there is a connection. Because eventually she's still going to tell me, says, Greg, like Greg, Greg, you know, I did help this one and that, and she'll tell me afterwards, and I sit there and it's like, just a mother's love. It's a mother's love.
We used to get into so many arguments around the children, and because it's you, and that's another thing. How do we be adult parents?
Oh my goodness!
That's a whole nother
I was going to
book.
ask
That's a whole nother
I was
book.
going to ask y'all to probably consider doing a group to help with parents of adult children. Because we really need to do some work. I know. I'm going to tell you right now. I need help around that.
That's where it goes to that final A in our book, which deals with agreement. And now once we establish the new agreement in regards to how we're navigating this empty nest lifestyle. Hey,
empty nest.
How does it feel?
Oh my God. He's going in. He's going in.
It is a beautiful.
Lucy Cheryl going in.
Oh no, she misses. No, I miss like with Gregory. Gregory would be screaming at the Xbox and talking with his friends, and it's kind of interesting. But you still feel that vibration of, oh, Jesus.
You know what it is? My husband, if I may.
Oh, please.
Okay. My husband is running around the house with nothing on, and he is talking about.
I haven't done that.
Yeah, he is running around the house and chasing me, and I'm just like, this is the.
If you want the actualization,
happening.
If you ever saw a movie called Couples Therapy, and the gentleman phase on love,
fantastic.
Phase on love, and there's a scene in there where he just felt free enough to be in his birthday suit.
That's right.
Think of it that way. It's a beautiful feeling. Try it one day.
I'm just like,
try it one day.
Somebody please come into the house.
Right.
But he's free. I mean, we've been married a long time. There's been nobody in our house. I mean, there's been always a person there.
Always a person.
Wow. So when you guys say, let's go away, we understand that now.
Yes.
So when we do go away with you, give you your space so you can be you and have that opportunity to chase her around the house, because he chases me and I'm just like, okay, Clarke. So he was upset. He was just like, I want to be with you. I'm like, okay, let's be with each other.
Well,
so,
I have to do some work to get my birthday suit right, because the birthday suit. I mean, it looks good here this way, but it looked good with clothes on. But the birthday,
just the way you are.
She may have accepted me, but I have not accepted me yet.
Oh, so you still have to work on that first aid. You got to work on that first aid.
I'm still in the mirror, working with
the image.
Just some of the image in the mirror. Gotcha. There's only just one part I want to get taken care of.
That's very candid, and I love your transparency, Your Grace, because right there it tells everyone that you never arrive. And when you look in the mirror, when that whole thing with society, with our body shaming and things like that, understanding who you are. In order for you to be in a relationship. So with Pastor Debra
and I don't know if it's body shaming. I just don't know why this certain part of the fat in my body just won't go away. I just and I would just like to have back, that part that would be flat like an ironing board like it used to be. And
well, they do say as we get older, we have to accentuate or add value to our testosterone levels.
Listen, I've tried and I tried. And I've tried all night long. I've tried and I tried until I found the Lord. But I get that there are different bodies. I mean, there's the young boy's body, which I went through that phase, and the young man's body. And I realize I am now a senior man, or a mature man.
Man,
and
get some hand claps. He looks good for a senior
and
man.
and a mature man's body is different from my midlife and my young boy's body, right? But I'm still remembering the energy that I had as a young man to be able to go and have the energy to run and to be. I mean, when my wife met me, I was like a 28, 29 waist.
Wow.
Right? And I think it's just unfair that my son Aaron got to keep his waist the way he is, and he came from my DNA, but the rest of us, but my father was like that.
Okay.
My father was never overweight. Is that right, honey?
He was always thin.
He was always thin. He just was.
But
he lived his life. I mean, he was just, and I just don't realize that I get, I could just look at Krispy Kremes and all of a sudden my pants won't fit. And I had a devil come into my house last night, and put 2 boxes of Krispy Kremes right there.
And don't forget the cookies and
they put cookies and they put apple pie. They put, and I says, what in the devil is this? And I said,
that was a sign,
What was the sign, honey?
The sign was we get ready to fast.
Really? That's what it is?
Yes,
okay.
that's what it is.
And then 1 box of the donuts have already gone, and I promise you, I only took one, and that was last night before bed.
I didn't take any.
I took one.
Joshua, tell the truth.
I took one.
Only one?
Oh, my daughter had one as well.
Okay, see, that's something to add up. Okay. But I don't know. Did you have something to do with those donuts?
No, Master Prophet, but the Grand Lux Cafe cookies and the beignets, that was me.
That was him.
I saw that in there. I said, look at the air quick.
I'm my shop.
So now you hear me talking about the goal that I'm trying to get to. They had everything loaded up like it was Christmas Day. I was trying to think of what was the holiday.
Yeah, but you had wanted something, and you was a little bit upset when
I had an agreement. We had an agreement.
Danielle did not get it because her mother said, no, Bishop does not need that. And then you had a little fit, so they said, okay, let's give our daddy, our bishop, whatsoever his heart's desires.
So let me tell my story, Princess. I wanted to get something to eat, so I treated myself to something I haven't had in about 5 years.
And what was that?
I went and got a Big Mac.
Ooh.
And fries.
And fries. I said, give me a Big Mac and fries. And I didn't get no soda.
Yeah,
She brought a tea. But I told her I was going to drink the tea. And I said, bring me 2 apple pies.
I thought it was 3.
I says 2, but then when Pastor came in, I said, I said, because we're going to do a date night.
That's
and I said, I will not be a part of that with those apple pies.
So when they dropped off the bag, I went to open it up, and I says,
happily,
I says, where are the apple pies? Because I remember back in the day when we were early married, we used to eat apple pies together. You know, the apple pies when they were flaky, and all that, they don't do that now. It's been a while since I had that. Where it was flaky, remember the flaky apple pie? That was good. You know, it was like great, wasn't it? Like you bite into it and just flakes all over the place. Yeah, that apple pie. It wasn't that apple pie. That just shows you how long I've been in McDonald's. So, to be funny, when I walked downstairs, there was 5 apple pies there. And I said, what in the devil? And then they had 2 boxes of Krispy Kremes came in there. I said, the devil. Then all of a sudden, cookies, a whole box of cookies from where?
Grand Lux Cafe, the box, chocolate chip and walnut, freshly baked.
I didn't even get freshly baked. I wouldn't go near those. And then I looked, and then I walked further in the kitchen, then there was beignets. I said, you know, the devil's a liar. I went and got my vitamin D shot and went to my bedroom.
God, discipline.
Amazing.
But one thing I want to say, and I like the part that you put in the book here about agreement, because that was a game changer for my wife and I. We were part of a program, and one of our coaches came to us and said, "What's going on between the two of you?"
Because.
You want to go there?
You already shared the story.
But you know what? This is why we need to do a marriage conference, because this is going to help people. You know, this, and we're doing this because this really helps, right? So anyway, to make a long story short, because we got to go into the other aspect of the service, but and we want you to sow your seeds today, but the coach said, "What's happening between the two of you?" It gave us a word of wisdom. That's what's good about a coach. That says, the challenge y'all are having is that you are in a relationship with no agreements. Yes. And how did that resonate with you, Pastor, when you heard that?
It was true to look at it, and then I began to look at all the other upsets or breakdowns that we had. It all stemmed from no agreement.
No agreement.
It was dealing with assumptions or, well, I thought, or you supposed to, or what have you, and placing all this, this is what you need to do, but it was never voiced because there was never an agreement. So, yeah, it was powerful.
And she started breaking that down. She says, your wife and you are living in certain. Now, this was the real game changer. And I said I was going to write a book on this. I just haven't gotten around to it. And this was about what, maybe about 8 years ago, or 6 years ago.
About 6.
This is
because we
2015, 2016. Yeah, and we was in Mexico in a retreat.
She did it in New York City because we had a weekend.
Yeah, but when the agreements, we were walking on the resort when she started bringing the whole thing up about the agreements.
Yes.
In Mexico. I think it was in 2015, 16. And she said now, and I began to go back and question her about it. I says, tell me more about this agreement. She says, you've gotten into a marriage with the assumptions of certain cultural agreements. Says, you've never asked your wife, would she cook for you, but you expect her to cook? I said, yeah, she's supposed to cook. She said, that's a cultural agreement. But you didn't ask for her, so she didn't sign up for that. You expected that. And she started talking to me about all the things that I was expecting of my wife to do that she never agreed to. And I says, I wanted to really do some work around that. Because the world of agreements, because I could have been, grew up where there was breakfast in my home every morning, which there was. And when I went down south to my grandmother, it was a Southern breakfast every morning. Like grits, eggs, all the works.
Every morning.
Right? Here we don't do breakfast like that. But if I lived in that, I could sit there and say, now this is logic. My wife is not a good wife because she does not make breakfast for her husband. Well, where did you get that from? Well, my grandmother makes breakfast for her husband. All of my aunts make breakfast for their husband. All the women that I know make breakfast for their husbands before they go to work. My wife acts as and that gets into the world of logic, and that can begin to form a belief or something that you will look at as a reality.
Exactly.
And so I like the fact that y'all got into this world of agreement. What had y'all to get into agreements?
Well, I would say when we recognize that me being West Indian, her being from pretty much her background is also from South Carolina, there were certain things culturally that we kept clashing at.
Like, give us an example of a cultural clash between the West Indian community and the African American. Because there's some people here that may be watching that you've married into another culture, and the agreements of those cultures.
Elric raised his hand.
Well, listen. I'm not calling out anybody here because I'm just saying, because all of us in America, we're like a melting pot. Yeah. And Jonathan, you've dated people from other cultures, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Right, and the agreements are like different.
Totally different.
Totally different, right?
Casseroles versus fried chicken.
Exactly. So.
That's Jonathan.
So what would be something that could be a little bit of a difference that you don't even think about until it like just piles, until it like really just piles up?
I would say sometimes the overarching attitude. Sometimes coming from a Caribbean space is very colonialistic. It could be considered like white glove service. Oh, your house is dirty, and they're walking around with white gloves. And like, what's going on here? And it's like, wow. Wait a minute. And then those impressions that come about that you would be in silent expectation of my wife to do, and until we got into a space that we can really comfortably get to the space of talking about it, it became those assumptions. It became those silent expectations, and it was like, wait a minute. There was a reason why I picked an American and not a West Indian. Don't get mad to the West Indians.
Jesus, you said that slide. We want
that out loud.
You want to sell this book here. Let me.
That's why I brought it back.
Yeah. But you can see where different cultures, different cultures have different expectations, right? Because every culture is a culture because of the agreement that culture is in that makes up that agreement. Like I can think as an African American, we have certain things that we say, oh no, we just don't, we're not going to do that this way. Like I know there's certain cultures that will sit there and say, oh, shut up, Mom. And I'm like
no, not in this life.
I'm already swallowing my teeth as a black man to 62 years old saying, shut up, Mom. But there's certain cultures that would say that, right?
Yes.
Have you seen that in certain cultures?
Absolutely. My son tried it, and he's from that culture.
Oh, because you have a blend.
My Lord. You know what? We got some tea to sell, to sip or something. Or tea.
So, right. So it's different. So the cultural agreement. So you do that to a black, if you like African American, and you want to be out the doors, you practice that on your mom. I wouldn't even think about saying to my mother, whatever. Just the tone. But you begin to look at that. That is something that was in our culture that kept the stability of our community. Whereby in other communities, I've seen them out in public say, shut up, Mom. You don't know what the F you're talking about. And then she's, reasoning back with the 13-year-old. And I'm like, when we were, especially you see this like in Macy's or wherever, department stores, I would be getting my children, so let me move y'all. Y'all coming over this way. Y'all don't need to see this because we don't need you to pick this up.
I don't want you to.
Right now, they would be calling the Bureau of Child Welfare because you would be laying in the middle of the store, you would be clean. They would be raising eyebrows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When we had our children, they used to say, your children are so well behaved. We didn't know what they were talking about that. Our children, we would walk in the airport, they would be walking one right behind each other like it was a classroom coming through there. We were traveling on vacation. It was like they would just, we didn't have to do no discipline outside. It was just very clear.
Very clear.
That we are out in public and do not, but if you choose to perform in public, we are prepared.
We're prepared.
And Bishop, to the point, I remember I think my parents beat me for embarrassing them. They wasn't even for the action. If you embarrass me in public,
I'm gonna get you.
I'm going to let you have it. In public, and then when you get home, I'm going to let you have it.
And they would let you have it in public? I
didn't really have too many.
You didn't push that envelope to that.
Because before we got out of the car, there was a speech. Don't touch nothing. Don't ask for nothing. If anybody offers you nothing, don't even accept it. Just get in this here, smile, and get back in this car. Don't ask for nothing. And if you're offered anything,
you better.
Don't even accept it. My brother, you want some candy? Mm-mm. What kind of kids don't want no candy? Mm-mm. My brother like, well, I'll have, my mother said, you'll have what? That's how we grew up.
My mother was known for the backhand queen. My mother would come so quick with the backhand. You know, I didn't even know what happened. I just knew.
Not Prophetess Maddie. Oh, no, not Prophetess Maddie from South Carolina.
Because my mouth, it was just like your mouth. My mother would always have her hand. I mean, it was. And then I went to parochial school. So parochial school back then, they had a ruler. So you always got on your knuckles. There was a ruler. Corporal punishment was nothing like today. So we don't condone corporal punishment. However, this is what our life was like. Our life was that we got the belt.
We didn't spare the rod.
There was no spanking. It's not called spanking. We got a beating. And that was something that that
was the culture.
That was the culture.
Right.
And we had to learn how to discipline our children. Now we did. Our first 3 children are disciplined very differently than our last 3 children.
Yes.
So we have 2 sets of children. So like our older children got the belt and got stuff like that. Our younger 3, as we got educated, we began to talk to them, have conversations with them, and then do things like that. We did spank them, but we did not have to do as much. But our older 3 think that we have lost our mind with our younger 3.
Right.
It was like, have you lost your mind? But we have understood how to have an agreement with them now as young adults.
Well, I love all of my children. What we did with my boys, the 3 youngest, the 2 oldest, the girls, I didn't do a whole lot with them. They all kind of knew to leave out. We got them in boarding school early, so they kind of lessened the impact. And with the boys, we had y'all was in martial arts, right?
Yes.
So I wasn't really beating them. We were just spying. They just couldn't return the blows.
Oh,
yeah, because they were all they became black belts. Didn't y'all become black belts?
Yes, yes.
They were all black belts. So you catch the punches and stuff.
Your Grace, I think we're done.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is all part of.
Yes.
This is all part of family. It's all part of communication.
Exactly.
Right. And when you begin to look at it, I want to thank you for doing the power of the 4 A's.
Yes.
And sharing your story.
And if I can say one thing, when you get the book, you are going to get some wisdom, some extra wisdom, because the foreword was written by another power couple, and they're sitting to our immediate left.
Oh my goodness.
So when you get the book, you're going to notice in the beginning you're going to get some wisdom words from the Jordans. So we could not have put out this book without acknowledging our mentors, those that we saw that helped us establish a relationship that now we're going on our 32nd year now.
And this is to be transparent in a relationship. And I love you, Prophet Clarke. When he shares about his depression, it took a long time for him to say, I would say, would you like to share? He was like, no. And it took a long time for Black men to discuss mental health challenges.
Yeah.
I commend Prophet Clarke. He's very candid about his working through depression. He's on the other side of it. However, it can seep back in when you don't know the triggers. So the triggers, you have to know yourself. So that's why the first A is about self-acceptance and knowing thyself, and forgiving any failures you think you've been through, forgiving any of those people you think that's hurt you. And I thank God, coming back into the doors of Zoe, we came into something called I Communicate. And we was able to have that conversation, a candid conversation where we forgave you and you forgave us.
Yeah.
So that was a clearing. And until you're able to do that, there is no relationship.
And forgiveness, I think, is one of the important things, is that what forgiveness does forgiveness has a restorative process.
Yes.
Where it begins to look at what the impact was and restore the being, if possible, back to the place and the space that they may have had that sense of loss.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
and
because
that's
even if it wasn't going to work, we were in therapy saying, okay, how do we co-parent and just be friends? So whatever that agreement was going to be, so if you're in a relationship and you had a divorce,
Right.
you have to forgive that person in order for you to step clearly into the next relationship.
And it's not only for you, it's actually for your children, especially if you have children, because the children are going to see how you're acting. And then if you're wondering why your children are acting out, like how when we noticed how children were acting out, instead of pointing a finger at them, we started to recognize, oh, we were the ones pouring into you, and now as we correct us, now we're correcting you.
Yes.
So,
Wow. Tell people how to get the book. How would I get the book?
Clarke?
see
Well,
what
you
the-
can go to www.gregandcherylclarke.com. That's with an E as well at the end. Or you can go to lulu.com and get it there. Whichever one, you can go and tap on our website, and you can go get it there for the power of the 4 A's, how you can begin to move your relationship. If you're in, have a thriving relationship, wonderful. This can also enhance it. We're sharing our story. We're sharing some anecdotes inside of there and some vignettes about where we did some couples therapy work, counseling work with other couples as well. So we're candid, we're sharing our life, and we're walking intervention to have a thriving relationship.
And I haven't taken a good look at the workbook yet, but you have a lot of things in here. When I'm reading this here, you have a lot of things that has formulas. To me, I see them as equations and formulas, and this is something that probably, Gregory, you probably can get some things and probably get together 52 different formulas, you know, and what could be formulas in relationship. So like when y'all have things like, I'm noticing here, like examples of a negative spin cycle. What is the formula for a negative spin? What is the formula for agreement? That this is the recipe
Yeah, that's good.
for, agreement. This is the recipe for empathy. This is the recipe of identifying the noise in the marriage.
That's good.
Noisy equals blank plus blank, or blank take away blank, And this is why, there's a lot of people just now getting home because they didn't want to go home straight from work, so they went and stayed in happy hour. Some people are in the bars until the spouse is asleep, right? Because they know when they're walking in the home, they're going to walk into noise.
Exactly. And that's why you didn't stay out of that, but he created a corner in the house.
Wow.
He created a corner in the house. He just said, don't bother me, I don't bother you. You could be in the house. That's why you can be absent. You can be a resident absentee husband or a resident absentee wife.
Yeah. Resident absentee.
Yeah, you're there.
In the residence, yes.
Yeah, in the resident. But you are
Isn't that
absent.
powerful?
That's powerful.
You are absent. You are absent. No one's touching, no one is talking, no one is doing anything.
It's like a part 2 book, another book.
Oh my goodness, honey. Maybe you and Cheryl should do a book together just called Be Present.
Be present.
Yeah.
Because you could be in a marriage and not present. It says this marriage is one hand clapping.
Exactly.
Legs, clap my hand, legs.
That's no. One hand clapping. You need 2 hands to clap. You don't get a hand. Now clap with just 1 hand.
It's just me. Ooh. Somebody here.
Wow.
Well, it could be if you use both your hands, but take away 1 hand and clap with 1 hand.
Can't clap.
No.
Can't do it.
Exactly.
Grasping that air.
And that's what happens. You can end up becoming, there's a lot of people that are in a relationship that is not present.
That's right.
Wow.
You never want your relationship to get to the point that it becomes automatic.
On automatic. That's good.
If it's on automatic, that means you are just mailing it in. It's like, oh, yeah, it's like being on an assembly line. I know that job. Okay, I'm just pressing a button.
I know that.
Pressing a button, just pressing a button. And then after a while, it's like, is there any type of change? Is there any real synergy into what you're doing in the relationship? No, because I know what she's going to do. I know what I'm going to do. Everything is on automatic. You never want your relationship to get to the point of being on automatic. And that's why the power of the 4 A's is so important, because now you're recognizing you have to create the intent so you can get the output.
See, there you go. There's another formula, you know, creating those different formulas. They could be formula cards where you could pull a formula and say, honey, we're going to work on this week. You see, it could be like, you can do it like algebraic formulas, because you love mathematics, Mr. Clarke. You could work those formulas right
all
there.
Day long.
You could find 52 situations, like maybe like how to have peace. Here's the formula for peace.
You know, that was his thing in therapy. She said, what do you want? He said, all I want is peace.
That's the prophetic in me. My eyes are open. My eyes are open. Everybody say C or C.
C or C.
See, I was there in the therapy.
That's the word. You're right.
That's good.
C.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Get their books.
Get it.
And let's give a hand to the power of the 4 A's. 4 A's. And we'll see you in the next podcast. God bless you.
To keep in touch with Master Prophet E. Bernard Jordan, go to www.bishopjordan.com and follow him on all social media platforms. To get more information about the Prophecology Conference and or more special events, go to www.zoeministries.com or call 888-831-0434. Thank you and stay blessed.